Hey guys, this is Ben with No Accent Callers. In today's video, we're going to be going over what marketing channel do you want to choose for your real estate wholesale business. This video is going to be about not which one is the best, because at the end of the day, they all work, but depending on who you are, depending on your budget, but more importantly, depending on your sales system and your expectations, you're going to figure out which one is going to make the most sense for you, because they're actually not all created equally. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ben. I'm one of the founders of No Accent Callers, and we run a 400-person call center primarily located in Egypt. And what we do is off-market direct-to-seller cold calling for wholesalers, investors, listing agents, and fix and flippers nationwide, as low as single family, as high as to commercial and industrial for our hedge fund and family office clients. So as you guys see right here, we have what I like to call the unlimited deal funnel. So with the unlimited deal funnel, I would just say, hey, if you want to learn how to wholesale real estate or want to know anything from A to Z, this is it. So let's go through it. First, it's not a real estate business. It's a marketing and a sales business. This is a core theme and concept that I like to talk about. That means you have marketing at the top of the funnel. So we have all of that right here. We have sales in the middle, which is right here. And then we have fulfillment, which is dispo right over here. So as we scroll up, we have a couple of marketing channels, and this is a little bit outdated, so I will make one change here. We have traditional marketing, which is billboards, TV ads, and radio. And one thing that I just want to move over here is also direct mail. This is a little too fancy of a lucid chart right here, so I'm not going to try to do it right here unless you guys want to watch me spend the next 15 minutes trying to make it look good. But we have traditional marketing, then we have paid traffic, which is PPC, and then we could branch off PPC into Google PPC. We also have Meta ads, and then we also have YouTube ads, and then we also have PPL, which is just most likely PPL providers. But PPL providers could also be sending you a paper lead, but it's a cold call lead. I'm not going to get into that. You have your JVs/referrals, which is, pretty self-explanatory. Then you have your cold outreach, which is cold call. Remember, we moved direct mail over to traditional. We have SMS, and we have ringless voicemails. Then we have organic, like SEO. So, okay. We now have these channels right here. Which one do you use? So before I go into each one, we need to have a couple baseline assumptions or data points. One, what is our marketing budget? Two is going to be, how big is our acquisition team? And then number three is, what is our sales cycle and cash conversion cycle to keep the lights on? And then number four, the last one, is what do we want to optimize for? And some of the things that we could optimize for is CAC, cost per lead, and quantity of leads. Okay, so we have these four questions that we need to ask ourselves. Now let's go one by one. So number one is, what is our marketing budget? So you could have two types of marketing budgets. You could have a big one, or you could have a small one. Actually, no, three, and non-existent at all. So let's start with non-existent. Well, if you have a non-existent budget, like I mean literally $0, probably the best thing that you can do is, I don't know, scrape the county for free data, get a list, and then literally pick up the phone and dial yourself. But now let's say we have a small marketing budget, $3K a month or less. What can we not do with $3K a month or less? Billboards, TV ads, and radio. Why? These ones are expensive. The CPMs are low. So what is CPM? Cost per milli, aka it's a function of like how much does it cost to get 1,000 views. But the reason why it is lower is because there's no type of like algorithmic targeting. Because for example, like if we're just looking at a CPM basis from billboards, which is probably, or I mean TV ads, which is like $8 to $15, versus CPMs for Google, or no, not for Meta PPCs, $50, you would say, well, I get more eyeballs and views if I do the lower CPM one. So I'm going to do that one. Well, here's the thing. Not all eyeballs are created equally. And I'm going to take this example from Meta. If you were running an e-commerce, brand, who is going to be more valuable? Is it the person who is 18 years old? Or is it going to be the woman who is 70 years old? Obviously, it's going to be the person who is 70 years old. Why? They're older and they have more disposable income. So in an algorithmic, auction to determine who gets served what ad, what is the platform, Meta, that is a revenue and profit-driven company going to do? Well, this eyeball is worth more money because they actually have spending power, so they're going to pay more for it. But it's a better eyeball. So now when we go back to billboards, TV ads, radios, there's no type of algorithmic targeting like you could do with Meta. There's no trillion-dollar fucking company behind it. You were just putting your ad there and hoping the people who watch it click it or call in. But those amount of eyeballs that you can get from a TV show, from a highway that gets 100,000 cars a day, does not really translate well if you actually can't keep the billboard, TV ad, or radio up, because it probably costs $10, $15, $25, $30, $50,000 per month to keep that up there. So it does not work for a low budget PPC and PPL. Well, let's see. You could technically run a $3,000 a month PPC budget, but if you're going to do in your market, you might get 2 leads. PPL, you could buy, probably 30 leads that are shared between other people. And if you're actually going back and running the ads yourself and you only have a budget of 3,000, odds are you're actually not a good media buyer or marketer to actually make it worth. Okay, now when you go to cold calling, $3,000 to probably hire you 4 VAs, get you some data and dialer. Each VA gets you 30 leads. It's what? 120 leads right there for that. Direct mail, don't even think about it, for $3,000 a month when postcards are 50 cents a postcard. You send 1,500 postcards, 99% of them are getting thrown out. So maybe you get 15 people who don't throw them out, and most people won't call back there. Ringless voicemail and SMS, those are going to be more optimal for these lower budgets because you can get a lot of volume. Probably costs $500 a month to send texts, and voicemails are that. So now, if we have a bigger budget, $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, you're probably going to want to be optimizing for PPC and PPL because you're going to be able to get that quantity of leads that you need to meet your minimum leads per contract, as well as getting overall better leads. And then I would also mix in direct mail and there, because now the second function of the question is how big is your acquisition team? Do you have a 15-person acquisition team? Well, if you have a 15-person acquisition team, odds are you're probably making a good amount of money and you have a big amount of marketing budget, because acquisition managers are pretty much just sales reps. And if sales reps don't have leads, sorry to break it to you, they're going to leave. So you're probably going to do a combination of billboards, TV ads, radio, direct mail, PPC, and then some cold outbound. However, if you are a smaller solo operator, depending on the revenue levels that you do, let's say you're doing 4 deals per month solo, averaging $60K. I'd probably say you want to just do PPC yourself because you're a one-man show. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with so many leads. But you just want to make sure that they are good because you're doing all the sales. But if you are trying to get out of that I'm doing everything role, more into that operator role, you're going to want to mix in cold calling and SMS as well, because you're able to fill your acquisitions pipeline with motivated leads that have a longer sales cycle, but they are cheaper, which then goes into our next question. What is your sales cycle and your cash to conversion cycle? So when we spend money on marketing, unlike e-commerce where they check out and you get paid back right away, aka your marketing to cash payback period, with real estate it is way longer. Well, why is it way longer? Well, most people's net worth is tied into their home. Well, they got to figure out where they need to move next. They need to talk to. It's just a long sales cycle. It's not an impulse purchase to just sell your house. So you have to take that into account, because if you only have 2 months of marketing runway at $10,000, so $5,000 per month, you're probably not going to want to do direct mail or TV ads or radios. Heck, you probably wouldn't even want to do PPC because you could burn through all that in 1 month, and the algorithms are pretty, they fluctuate a lot, to say the least. You probably want to optimize more for cold calling and direct mail because, hey, let's say you run out of marketing dollars before you get your first deal, which is pretty normal actually. You at least have a volume of leads that you can work for quite some time. However, if you have a bunch of deals in the pipeline, you have a big acquisition team, and you can mathematically forecast what your CAC or your marketing payback period is, my apologies, then it makes sense to spend more on the more expensive ones because you actually have the budget and the operations to withstand long payback periods. And the final thing is like, dude, like, what do you want to optimize for? Some people want to optimize for CAC, cost to acquire a contract. Typically it's client, but I'm just going to say cost to acquire a contract here. Well, what is going to be a better marketing channel for you to do? The CAC that is $5,000 to make $10,000, or the CAC that is to make $2,000 to make $10,000? Well, obviously the one that's a $2,000 CAC is going to be more optimal because you're going to be more profitable. But going back to our questions 1, 2, and 3, well, shit, man. Like, what if you were a one-person operation and you are only doing PPC and your CAC is $5,000, but it's very predictable. So you spend $25,000 per month to make $50,000 back. But guess what? You have a smaller amount of leads. They're way more motivated, and you actually, have a faster payback cycle because you were getting the higher quality leads. Or do you want to, go through the grind and struggle of following up with leads for months and months and months again, have a way longer payback period, but they're going to be more profitable when you get them in. So now going back to the title of this video, it's just like, well, what do you want to optimize for? It really just depends. So let's assume you are picking 3 channels, and these are the 3 that I will always die on. I believe at the top of the funnel, so right here, we're going to cast the widest net for the lowest quality of leads, but for the most amount of leads. And that's going to be with cold calling. And you do cold calling because you're going to get super targeted, qualified, at a low cost per lead. And this is where you use a company like No Accent Callers who will do everything for you. In the middle of your funnel, you are going to have PPC, whether it's Meta, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Google. It really depends on what your preference is. I would probably say Meta because I know I am a good advertiser and I can really dial in my fucking creatives and put out the correct amount of volume that is needed so that I can make Meta work. But if you're really just trying to capture on demand, because remember, Meta is a demand creating marketing channel. Google is a demand capturing. In Meta, you are trying to stop the mid-scroll. Hence, you need a good creative, creating demand. But Google, they're saying, I need to sell my house faster. You're capturing that intent. That's why it's more stable, but you'll pay a higher cost per lead. So I say PPC in the middle, and then at the bottom of the funnel, I really say direct mail. So 1, when they call in, they're going to be super motivated, but 2, it can actually be super sticky. The same way that we said that a postcard can get thrown out, they actually keep that in their desk. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have like a little desk thing right here. They might say, this is super interesting. Free cash offer. Let me go put this right here. And then 8 months later, they need to sell. Oh, wait, I have this coupon for a free cash offer. Boom, they go and call it in. So to summarize, it just really depends on what you're looking for. Do you want the most profitable deals? Cool. Then you might need to have worse lead channels that require longer follow-up. Do you want the lowest cost per lead? Well, shit, man. Expect your fucking sales cycle to be way longer and have way more shitty leads. Or are you a one-man operation who just wants consistent deal flow per month? You want good leads. You want the sales to be enjoyable. Then you're going to optimize for quality of lead. And each one of them, it doesn't stay the same. They all have their pros and their cons.